yeses, 0 no's, 1 away. Brings us to the next item. It's 21-00367, an ordinance by Councilmember Joycelyn Sheperd authorizing the mayor, her designee, on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a ground lease agreement with the Atlanta Police Foundation for all or a portion of the property located at land lot 83 of the 15th District, DeKalb County, Georgia, tax parcel ID 1508201001 and known as 56 Key Road, Southeast Atlanta, all or a portion of the property located at land lot 81 of the 15th District, DeKalb County, Georgia, tax parcel ID 15081080001 and known as 3054 Fayetteville Road, Atlanta, and all or a portion of the property located at land lot 81 of the 15th District, DeKalb County, Georgia, tax parcel ID 15081080002 and known as 3184 Fayetteville Road, Atlanta, collectively the property for a lease term not to exceed 50 years at an annual ground rental rate in the amount of $10.00 and in consideration of performing certain development on the property, waiving the competitive procurement provisions contained in Chapter 2, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City Code of Ordinances, all amounts to be deposited in the account listed herein and for other purposes. And I believe that we have an amendment that came after the packet. So let me just pull that up. I think we got it at 3:46 this afternoon. So I will make a motion to amend. And what it does is it adds account strings to section 3.
Come here.
That reads, it will now read, revenue received from the ground lease will be deposited into fund or account numbers 1001 General Fund, 040401 EXB General Buildings and Plants, 381001 Land Rentals General, 1565000 General Buildings Plants. I'll make a motion to amend to add those account strings.
Second, Sheperd.
All right, second Sheperd. Let's open the vote on the amendment.
The vote is open.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Sheperd, my computer had shut down for a minute. I didn't see you had your button pushed.
Madam Chair, I'm going to speak after we bring forth the amendment, and so I can speak later.
Okay.
I'll put my hand down.
Okay. Ms. Sheperd got recorded as a second, so we need you to vote.
Yeah, I'm an aye. Thank you.
Okay. So it should be, no, not Mr. Sheperd, is it not? Mr. Shook is a no. He said yes, not no. I'm pretty certain. Yes or no, Shook? Yep, there we go. So on the amendment, 5 yeses, 0 no's, 1 abstention from Councilmember Archibald. All right, we'll give the floor to Councilmember Sheperd.
Thank you all. This legislation was something that the Police Foundation and the Mayor's Office asked me to introduce. But I just want to go on record saying that I had no problem introducing this. This is something that is truly needed in terms of our police and fire department. The Atlanta, a police training facility, a public safety training facility for police and fire. For people who don't know, I have the old police academy and the old fire academy. Both are in my district. At this point in my district, in both of them, they're both in old, dilapidated elementary schools that if you took anyone to see them, as a matter of fact, I would challenge anybody to go out and look at either one of these academies where they exist. We're having to move the police out, and the fire department is already beginning to move out. Actually has moved out because of mold, mildew, asbestos, horrible conditions that anybody should not be actually working in, a condition that no one should be in. The same thing for the police department and the police academy. The police academy, where it is on Southside Industrial Parkway, sewer backing up, roof leaking, can't drink the water, can't use the water. When people are training and they're hot, they can't even take a shower out there. The building is just old, dilapidated. Both of these buildings are old school facilities that should have been closed down a long time ago. We've been talking, as you all know, for years about building a new training facility for our fire and police department. It is now time for us to do that. The property out on Key Road is property that the city of Atlanta owns. This is not property. I heard people say earlier about the Atlanta Police Foundation actually purchasing this land. This is property that the city of Atlanta actually owns. It was an old prison farm. We actually already have possession of that property, which is why we're asking for a lease today for the Atlanta Police Foundation to lease it to us for a build out of this property. Now, I've had people in my community ask me questions about it, and I have people in my community who say they support it. So I have both sides of the element. But as I look at the public safety chair of public safety, and I look at all the things that are happening right now via crime in our communities, police, all the things we talk about in terms of police, I will be the first to say to you that I support the police department. We need the police department in my community. Crime is up, just like it's up in Buckhead and Midtown. It is also up in my community. And the masses of the people in my community are not saying, don't give anything to the police department. As a matter of fact, they support the police and the fire academy because we know they do a good job for our community. This week, I know there are issues around that, and there's a lot of folks who called about the trees, and we shouldn't do it. But I believe this is a good thing to do at this point. As I said, Police Academy will be moving out and moving into Atlanta Metropolitan College for the next year or two until we find a permanent place actually to put them in. The fire department has already closed the building because they can't be in it, and they're actually being leasing property somewhere else. It is time for us to build a new academy for our police department and our fire department. I support this legislation. However, I am willing to listen to what any of my community people have to say. I'm willing to listen to my colleagues in terms of dialogue about the pros and cons of this, and then I would like to make a position to move the paper forward if we can come to a compromise. Thank you. That's all I have to say at this moment.
All right. Does anybody else have Mr. Westmoreland and Councilmember Archibald?
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything that Councilmember Sheperd just said in terms of continuing the conversation with each other and with the community. So at the appropriate time, I'm happy to make a motion to hold, but I can do that after Ms. Archibald speaks.
Okay, Councilmember Archibald. We can't hear you. Councilmember Archibald, you there? Hello? I don't know what's happened. Okay, let's go to Matt Sakai, and if Archibald comes back, then we'll put her back on.
Thank you, Chair Ide. You know, I know, we all know that a new training academy for police and fire is something that this city really desperately needs. And there's been a lot of work done on this over the years. And I want to thank the administration for sharing the work that the Mayor's Task Force did on this earlier this year, where they looked at location, they looked at financing, you know, what the site would be, you know, what the plan would be at the Key Road site. And I know there's been a lot of good work on this. And so I'm committed to a training center. We desperately need a training center, and I want to see that happen and move this forward in an expeditious manner. I also want to be sure that we do listen to people, and that we do try to see if the vision that folks have for this property, making it a bit of a green space that will serve the community and preserve the environment. I would like to find a way for us to do both on this site, for us to have a training academy, and for us to meet the vision of those folks at the Conservancy and other organizations who have a vision for this space and the creek and the trees. And so I would like to make sure that conversation happens and that we do get those groups together and hear from them and they can share ideas. So I'm supportive of this. I would also support Councilmember Westmoreland's motion to hold this so that we can have those conversations and see if we can't, accomplish both on this site. Again, a training center and much needed green space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Metzkite. Mr. Westmoreland, can I let Archibald jump in front of you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know. I have to invoke the spirit of Mr. Shook. I don't know what happened to my phone, what's going on with the system. Anyway, all right. I just wanted to say I agree with what I just heard Councilmember Metzkite say. This has been an initiative. Carla Smith and I have constituents that have been visioning and out in this area off Key Road for over 20 years. And so this does go abrupt from that vantage point. When I met with Mr. Wilkinson, I told him that several years ago that it's going to be important to have a robust community engagement piece. And we didn't do that. And so I am pleased to support the recommendation to hold this. And thereafter, I would like for us to have a path forward for that community engagement piece. I think all of the points that Councilmember Sheperd made about the condition of the facilities are absolutely correct. And I am so happy that we have found temporary location at Metropolitan College for our police and that the firefighters have some temporary location as well. But we have got to make sure that we do have a permanent facility, and whether or not all of this is needed, whether or not this is the best location, all of those things need to be discussed, fully vetted, and then we make the right decision for our public safety professionals, as well as assuring the public that we heard them and that we are considerate of all equity before we make a decision. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Archibald. Mr. Westmoreland.
I will remake my motion to hold.
All right. I'm happy to second that. Let's open the vote on the motion to hold.
The vote is open.
Let's see. We are waiting for Mr. Shook.
Aye.
All righty. All right. Then that makes 6 yeses and 0 noes, and this item will stay in committee. And it looks like Mr. Metzkite and Ms. Sheperd would like to speak.
Thank you, Chair Ide. I'm just wondering, we're holding this paper. I think you heard some desire for there to be conversations between these groups and to listen to various perspectives. I'm wondering if there is someone from the administration potentially COO Keene, who could speak to us about how we're going to go about making that happen.
Sounds good to me. Mr. Keene, I don't know if you meant Mr. Tim Keene or Mr. John Keene. I think you meant John Keene.
Yeah, COO Keene. Thank you.
I am not certain if we have him on the line or not.
Chair, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the council. Appreciate the opportunity to share some information on the planned Public Safety Training Center. I know you all discussed, and Councilmember Mazikite mentioned the fact that we have had extensive process to date in order to develop recommendations. And the Police Foundation, as was mentioned, has engaged with engineering and design consultants to identify options, document needs, and develop initial concepts. And I know we've already shared that information with you all. It was also shared that the mayor issued an administrative order directing the COO to convene an advisory council to explore options and make recommendations concerning the development of a new public safety training facility. That council did meet 4 times and reviewed data and analysis related to the 3 primary areas that Councilmember Mazikite mentioned: the site selection, the scope of the facilities, and the phasing and the funding. I'll just briefly reinforce one point, and then I'll talk about the next steps. There are 2 primary reasons why we believe this center is important, and you all have hit on them quite well. One is, as you know, the current public safety training facilities do not fully address the needs of our public safety professionals or represent the national and regional leadership of our agencies. And 2, we do expect several important benefits from the center, including improved retention, recruitment, and training for our public safety professionals with an intentional focus on civil rights and the use of force and de-escalation training. Improved collaboration and joint training between Atlanta's public safety agencies and their local, state, and federal partner agencies, and improved community access and relationship building through public spaces at the center, such as walking paths and a community garden. As I think you all know well, this is also a unique opportunity to leverage private and philanthropic funding to develop the center that our public safety professionals need. In terms of next steps, today the intention was to start this discussion, sharing information on the process thus far and the next steps. The goal moving forward is to gather additional public input to refine the site plans and ultimately allow the project to move forward in a way that benefits everyone and fits into the broader plans for the area and acknowledges the history of the site. We're finalizing the details for the public input process. We would expect it will take place over the next 60 days. The Atlanta Police Foundation will be engaging several external partners to facilitate the process and gather feedback and input on the site plans. We're also happy to arrange tours of the site and share any desired additional information on the process to date, as well as the process moving forward. We expect to bring updated site plans back to the City Council by the August 11th FEC meeting. And so that is right now our intention as it relates to the next steps in the process and the public engagement process that we plan to go through over the next 60 days. And so thank you again for the opportunity to share information on the center and next steps with you all today.
Anything else, Mr. Mazikite?
No, thank you very much.
All right, Councilmember Sheperd.
Yes, thank you. I also want to talk about a couple of things. Number one is I want to do a tour of the facility to make sure, of the key road, so that I can look at everything that people are talking about, so we can understand that. So I am going to, as a public safety chair, I'm going to be sending out tours to ask if anybody wants to go on the tour of the key road facility so we can look at it. But the last thing I want to say, but let me just tell you something, something. For the last 3 hours or more, since about 3:30, 4 o'clock, I have been inundated with protesters out in front of my house about this particular legislation. Now, I know people have a right to protest, and I have a sidewalk in front of my house, but these folks came up on my yard protesting, ringing my doorbell and knocking on my doors and just banging on my door. It really was a frightening thing. I have a police car in my yard as we speak, and it's going to stay there. But what I will say to y'all, I will not be intimidated. I'm not scared. This is what's happening. But for any folks who are listening, is that when we talk about protest, I'm not going to be threatened. I would not be threatened. I'm going to do my job as a legislator. I'm going to do what I feel is right. I will listen, but I will not be threatened. And so I just want people to know that, and that any protesters, they have a right to protest, but if you come up on my property, that's a whole different thing. So I'm just letting you all know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sheperd. Anyone else have anything on this item?
Yeah, Shep with a question.
Yep.
Why was the lease introduced without any detail behind it?
If that's a question to me, I can't answer that. Maybe Mr. King can.
That is not a question for you, Madam Chair.
Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Councilmember Ship, 2 thoughts on that. One is, I'm not sure I'm quite following what you mean by no details behind it, but the other point that I would make is this lease is really the first step in a multi-step process. Many of those steps ultimately will have to go through the city council, and this is one of the first steps. But which particular details were you referring to?
All of them. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Archibald.
Thank you. I don't want to go without acknowledging that what Councilmember Sheperd just described is appalling. I can't apologize for them, but I want you to know, Councilmember Sheperd, that you did not deserve that. I believe that the introduction of legislation is how we do our work, and the deliberative process results in input from the community, from the administration, and then we make a decision. So to prematurely target one of our bodies is very unfortunate, and it is not the way we do business. So very, very sorry that you had to go through that, and I stand in solidarity with you that you have simply just done your job, and I commend you for at least starting this process. Now, how we finish it is up to us, but the introduction of legislation is within the purview of the responsibilities of this office. So thank you very much, Councilmember Sheperd, for all you do.
Thank you, Councilmember Archibald.
I second that, Matsakite.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that this is our job to do it, and people are free to disagree, but they're not free to trespass. So I hope that doesn't happen again. Anything else on item number 28? All right. Let's keep moving.